Hey, what's going on, guys? Mike here once again, bringing us another video. Now today we're actually going to be, or tonight rather, we are going to be talking about how the universe is always testing us. It's always a test, guys. Seriously. Whether that's through certain adversities, certain challenges. And in this video in particular, I made this one a little less structured, but bear with me because we're going to be talking about some of the reasons why the universe might test us, or God, whatever we want to call it, higher intelligence, right? But undoubtedly, this is a very recurring theme, not only in scripture, but throughout the universe at large. It's in every single one of our experiences in life. We're always passing some sort of test. You know what I'm saying? Or I guess passing or failing. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a formal test, right? Because we're not just talking about like education and school and yeah, no, I mean, you guys obviously know what I'm talking about. Like testing us through trials, through tribulations, life throwing curveballs at us to see what we'll do, and how we will respond, and if we will respond the same way over and time again. Now, I'm going to go over some of the reasons why I believe the universe tests us. Because really, think about that. What's the purpose? Is there a higher order to this? And I do believe that there is an absolute higher order to all of the testing. And I wrote down some notes. Now, I am going to be referencing a little bit of scripture here, but a lot of people are unaware. But I'm going to preface this real quick because I feel the need to. A lot of people think, and they have these preconceived notions that, referencing the Bible and referencing scripture is that there's no further meaning, that there's not a deeper principle behind it, and that's actually what the Bible is. Truth be told, that's actually what the Bible is. It's a book of consciousness. It's there because there's hidden meanings in everything. There's a reason why Jesus and many of the prophets throughout the New and Old Testament, they're speaking in parables. And Jesus openly talks about that. I'm speaking to you in a different language, and that's how he tells his followers and his disciples that you would understand me better, but I am speaking to you in parables. And then occasionally, if they didn't understand it at all, and there was repetition of that, we don't understand what you're saying, that's where he was being more transparent, and he would open up. But and he had to discern whether they truly knew that or not. This was the wisest man who ever roamed the face of the earth. He really was, because he was the highest form of consciousness that there ever was in existence. And you see this, guys, by how he responds, by how Jesus responds to some of the hatred, and those are sort of his tests in a way too, but he was the ultimate creator. But anyway, guys, I mean, we are all creators, but with that said, I am going to be referencing scripture, and just understand that there is always deeper meaning if I'm referencing scripture. It's never on a surface level. There's always a deeper implied meaning. It's always through some sort of parable. Now, in this case, a lot of people would say, don't read too much into it. Well, in the case of scripture, scripture can be interpreted like 1,000 million different types of ways. So just understand that scripture is meant to be taken, or not to be taken necessarily at face value. Now, maybe some things were, but I believe the entire Bible is actually a gateway to a higher level of consciousness. And there's hidden meanings everywhere in the Bible. Everywhere in the Bible. So anyway, guys, let's talk about this. Why does the universe test us? Is there meaning? Is there a meaning behind the testing? Does it is there a cause and effect of this? Like, if we pass the test, does it mean that then we will receive an abundance and bounty of reward? Who knows? Who knows? But I believe so. I do believe that through certain trials, and if we pass those tests, we are rewarded in some form or another. We really are. I do truly believe that. And whether it's immediate or not is sort of up to the law of cause and effect. And I think it ties into the law of cause and effect, because you're tested. Even though you're tested, you're always causing something. So it's like, what type of change are you causing? You're always causing change, but it just depends on what type of change. And I don't know if you guys are noticing, but this moth is just hanging around. Some kind of bug. I guess it was wanting to be in the camera. All right. Now, at least it's not a spider, right? I've not noticed that spider yet that was crawling up that tree the other night. Anyway, I'm actually referencing a little bit. I'm referencing a little bit of David, right? Like David in the Bible. And originally Saul was king, King Saul, and God entrusted Saul with his kingdom, with the future of the kingdom, in the future of the culture, in the future of the people there, in the future of the living inhabited area, in the areas around it, and God was looking for a king to lead his people into betterment of change, and in the universe, in other terms, like, you could say God, universe, but the universe in God was entrusting to certain people based upon certain things based upon how they responded in situations, based upon how loyal they were to follow the will of the universe, the will of God. And I believe that stems from a deeper knowing. Maybe none of us can really be taught this, but I think it stems from a deeper knowing. It's like a sense in here that is like, that you know that you know. And we have all of these, that I think that's how we know, how to discern, okay, what is the will of the universe? Well, the will of the universe could definitely be those thoughts and feelings that come to us. I know that I know that I know. I know that I should reach out to this person. I know that I should have done this. I know that I should be doing this. I think it comes to us in the I knows, in our hearts and in our souls. And it comes to us in the forms of different thoughts in our mind. You have to bear with me. Once again, another cigar night. But anyway, in referencing scripture, God said, I have found David, a man after my own heart, who will do all my will. So there's definitely this like trusting in the servants of God, and I truly believe, like the angels, whether it's like the archangels, like Archangel Chamuel, Archangel Raphael, Michael, Gabriel, and all these archangels, right? I believe that they were certain spirits, because it's always a spirit thing. I believe that they were certain spirits that might have even lived here in the physical world at some point in time. Maybe they are currently, and they're spirits roaming the earth. Who knows? Or maybe they're just entrusted with the highest purposes, because that's what I understand. These individuals, these souls, these forms of energy, these life forms, these energy forms, these spirits, the archangels, they've been entrusted with serving God for his highest purposes, for the purpose of following his rule in his perfect, unwavering will, as we refer to it as. And like I said, there's many ways for us to discern what exactly is the will of the universe and God. But I truly believe a lot of these come to us in hunches. They come to us in the form of knowing down here. We have this deep sense of, I know what I should be doing. because those things typically lead to the greatest fulfillment as well. So we must listen to our gut. In a lot of cases, we must listen to our gut instinct. I do truly believe that. But God saw David, and He said, I have found David, a man after my own heart. So it's definitely, think about what that means. A man after my own heart. That's so brilliant, because the universe and God, it's definitely a feeling spirit. It's definitely an energy of feels. Seriously. It's an energy of feels. And I believe that there is deep feeling in the spirit realm as well as the physical realm, and I believe that they're quite different. It's a different type of feeling, but many of us, we won't know that until we cross over. So anyway, will of God, right? I wrote down Saul was king around the time, and was God's first choice. King Saul was God's first choice. And this is where we're talking about life, the testings throughout life, right? Now, this is very important. It says, although Saul was God's first choice as king, Saul failed in both tests God gave him. Now, the way I see it is that the universe and God's always testing us, but some of the tests are very important. Like, they're like the big things, just like with David and Goliath. Like, that was definitely a test. It's sort of a proving, but it's not to prove. It's not necessarily to prove just to God. It's not just to prove to the universe that, okay, you're passing the tests. You are loyal. You're faithful over few things. So I'm going to, make you rule over many. It's not just for the universe. Yes, it's a collective, but it's not just for the universe. And that's my point. It's also for us, because we're proving to ourselves simultaneously that we prove to the universe or this person or that person or God, higher intelligence, higher spirit. We also prove to ourselves that we are capable of what we do. And it's expressed, these tests and how well that we're passing the test, it's expressed through character. I do believe that it's expressed oftentimes through character. It's through our character. Now I forget who it's. What was it? Abraham Lincoln? I think it was Abraham Lincoln that said, if you want to test a man's character, give him power. See, because like certain power, think about that. Like, the universe has to know that it can trust you with that power. And I believe it's through a solid foundation. It's through a foundation of faith. That's how we pass these tests, is that, who is God entrusting? See? Because we must ask ourselves those questions. Who is he entrusting and why? But I think that there's specific reasons. I really do. And I wrote down here that the years of testing for David that God noticed was in his home duties and work duties. Now, that's scripture. That's referencing scripture. So think about that. It's not just our business life. It's not just our work life, but it's our deeper relationship life. It's how we respond to others. It's how willing we are to give. And then there's all these years of testing, home duties, work duties, and the universe calls us to universal service, to give without a greedy heart. And I think that's it right there. I think it's to do the quote-unquote will of God or the will of the universe with a clean intention. I honestly think that's the key. It's not necessarily our own intention and our own needs and wants, but we have to discern that on a deeper spiritual level that, okay, I'll give an example. Like say I meet somebody out and it's like a woman, and like my own selfish needs wants or my own selfish desires, right, might might tempt me. Temptation might tempt me into manipulating the situation, because it's very possible, like, to manipulate and be like, okay, I'm gonna try to get this out of this person, out of that person I'm talking to. um, and I think that's where that fine gap is that we must really discern, is that it's not the selfish need or want, it's not the selfish want, but it's the deeper need between individuals or between the group. It's what people need. It's the true needs of both parties. And if the needs match up, then that's the will of the universe, as far as I'm concerned. Seriously, think about that. If the needs match up, but if the needs don't match up, you'll be able to tell. And that's where we come into, like, forcing. Because if whenever we force our hand, it doesn't work out very well, like, ever. It and I'm not talking about not going after what you want in life, because we must do that. But there's that fine line of going after what we want and knowing what's best for us, and only we can discern that for ourselves. It's always a personal decision. So the years of testing, and I also noted on here, that I think that the universe entrusts he or she who sets up a solid foundation for themselves to operate from, because then that solid foundation of faith, not just materialistic foundation, yes, like, you must have certain resources, I do believe, but it's more of a foundation of faith. It's like, it's how you go about life, it's your mentality, like, it's how malleable and how pliable you are, and how willing you are to listen to other people's perspectives and perceptions. And it's what God can do through you. See, it's what universe is able to do through you. And I believe we all discern that on a deeper need type of level, because you might want something, but does everybody want it? And I'm not saying not to have your own wants, because that's very crucial. Definitely have your own wants, but it is hard to discern these topics. The will of God, and through testing, we are glorified. We are abundantly praised in some form or another. But back to the archangels. Now, I'm done with the notes, so I'm going to put these up. Okay, so I am done with the notes, but I just wanted to reference those few scripture verses, just so that we can understand and have examples of throughout history where, Saul failed the test, so he was dethroned, and David was put in charge, and God knew that Saul would fail the tests. That's what's very interesting, because David was already in preparation. That's what's really interesting, is that David was already in preparation long before Saul. So it was like, that's what's really sort of interesting. But then there's that also, there's the contrary opinion that, or I guess perspective. I think I hear a bat. Seriously, because we get bats out here. Anyway, hopefully that bat was eating the spider, because that would help. But anyway, we were tested, and I believe, even though God knew, there was aspects of the universe and that God didn't know, because through our free will, we're free to choose. We are free to choose, but scripturally, and in theory, God and the universe will use everything for the good and progression. It doesn't matter how destructive one might take their free will to that degree. It's promised that any amount of destruction, even to the negative side, that can still be used in harmony with the ultimate will. So that's what's very interesting. It's like we can't escape the true will, the true will of the universe. Because to think about it, the universe created, we are created from the universe. So think about that. For us to to and some people don't like that. I understand. Some people might not like the fact that, okay, we don't have choice. Yeah, no, you do have free choice, and it's all your choice. It's all your decision, and a lot of that stuff might not be predetermined outcomes, but it is promised that whatever you do choose to do, that the universe will turn around and use that for good. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting. Just like storms in nature, they all have a purpose. Those even have a reason. Even though that's more organized and that's more of order, I believe that the universe and the world and it uses, there's a higher order. But back to the testing, life's always testing us in different forms. It's seeing how receptive we are. It's seeing how open. It's seeing the path. It's testing our faith. Really, it is. It's testing our faith, because we live either in fear, or we live over on the polar opposite side of fear, which is faith. It's either fear or faith-based understanding. It's either fear, which is based in ignorance, or polar opposite, faith based on understanding. But either way, it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we do have a part of the universe in ourselves and in our spirit that is perfect, that is of a higher order, that we can use to manifest higher, whatever we want, really, whatever that we desire. But the way I see it is that, the kingdom of heaven, and throughout Scripture, the kingdom of heaven is told to be in us. It actually works. It's actually upon us in the physical form. So we do have the absolute control to take over quality of our lives and create whatever we desire to create, for good or bad. But usually, definitely for the positive change. Everything's going to work out for the good in the end, because that is the ultimate will of the universe, is growth, not decay. But it can use decay for more growth. So this was sort of, I tried to stay on topic best I could tonight, but this was more of a casual video, as you can tell. It was slightly more of a ramble. But at the same time, I do believe that we are given certain trials and tests throughout life, concerning patience, concerning our relationships. What do we do with it? How do we respond to the hatred? People are throwing hate our way. How do we respond to the hate? That's also crucial to understand. And depending on how we consistently, this is what I believe, is depending on how we consistently respond to that hatred, and we love our neighbors and things like this, then, higher powers then can understand that, okay, the mentality, I see what he's doing with his gifts. He's taking control of the kingdom within. And there's a respect, because if you're to take control of the kingdom within, there's a respect that you have to have for the kingdom. There really is. Whenever we hear kingdom, I think of our higher faculties, because we've been gifted with an intellect. We're spiritual beings having a physical experience, and we're gifted with an intellect. So I truly believe that's what it comes down to. I really do. I think it comes down to what we decide to do with our higher abilities. And then that dictates whether things have purpose and meaning. And typically, the more healthy the character is, the higher you have potential to rise in life. I do believe that it does absolutely stem from character. But I didn't want to keep this rambling on too long, guys. But the video was all about testing, and then I gave some different examples throughout the Scripture. But I think I'm going to go ahead and end it off right here. But just reflect on some of the topics that we're discussing in these videos. And I'll definitely make more structured videos in the future concerning these topics, because although I like them, ranting isn't also, necessarily the way I want to go about it. I do want to make sure that the information is valid. And I know that most of what I've talked about is absolutely valid. But I'm just saying, from a structural perspective, I need to go through the steps. I need to actually have attainable steps that we can look at piece by piece by piece that can give us some order to what we're discussing in these videos. So guys, enjoy the rest of your day or night, whatever time it is for you, and I'll see you in the next video.